Hi friends. Today I have for you this little tiny terrarium for a little tiny cactus. Okay, actually it says robust hedgehog cactus, but it doesn't look very robust in the picture. This has been in my desk drawer for like a year and a half, so I kind of doubt that the seed is gonna be good anymore, and I'm actually not planning on using the seed in it anyway. Oh my god, it's so cute. This is the cutest terrarium I have ever seen. Also, my hands are like child-sized. I know it's not very evident in videos, but they are, and this is genuinely like the tiniest terrarium. So tiny. V small. And it actually came with 5 robust hedgehog cactus seeds, so there's that. Okay, it says place disc in terrarium and add 1 teaspoon of water. This is the disc. Success. I don't know, I have no way of telling if that's enough. I'm just gonna poke it with this popsicle stick. Being an adult is hard. Alright, that seems sufficiently poked. I definitely don't have the patience to grow seeds in this thing, so here's a couple of pieces of creeping thyme from my little garden pot. I'm just gonna stick that little tiny stem in there and hope for the best. Well, that's sufficiently wimpy. Okay, thanks, bye! Welcome back to Terrarium Time with Jess. This is a super cute terrarium I got from my sister-in-law that had 2 air plants glued to this kind of synthetic fiber paper substrate in the bottom. Ooh, that looks like something straight out of a shower drain in a horror movie. Long story short, I wasn't able to get it all out, but I was able to make a huge mess and make a fool of myself. And you know, if every pork chop were perfect, we wouldn't have hot dogs. So, first thing I'm gonna add is my drainage layer, or my base layer. This is black aquarium gravel in a Trix yogurt cup, because why not? And then of course we have our mesh, and you're probably thinking, just curious, why the mesh? And I'm not gonna tell you. Pop that bad boy in there. Whoop. And your next layer is gonna be your charcoal. Some people like to rinse their charcoal. I don't, because I like to live life on the edge. And then your next mysterious layer of mesh. I'm going to use some moistened sphagnum moss. I heard that you can regrow long fiber sphagnum moss as long as it's good quality from preserved sphagnum moss, so I'm gonna give that a go. Put my rest of my moss in there. I moistened it a little bit, and it's ready for some plants. This is just a little Paulownia cutting. I tucked in some moss like a month ago, and it's definitely rooted, so we're gonna put that guy in there. And I'm also going to tuck a couple cuttings of this guy right here. There we go. Perfect. And it seems a little crazy, but my hope is that eventually I can kind of direct it towards these openings on the side, and I'll kind of have like this hanging out vine that looks like weird arms or something. I don't know. Thought I was gonna be done, but then I found this little mystery piece of some vining plant on top of one of these plants, so I'm gonna put that in there too. And I'm also going to put this little clump of string of baby tears in there because they're cute and tiny. Whoop, I dropped one. All right, and there she is. The little Paulownia in the back, string of baby tears, these little cissus guys, and this mystery doodad in the middle of it. Hopefully it lives and I can find out what it is. And this cork literally does nothing because it has holes in the sides, but okay, thanks for watching, bye! Welcome back, friends, to another Terrarium Time, this time featuring... Alright, let's do this! Oops. I spent an embarrassingly long time trying to open this without cutting it, so we're cutting it. How about I complain about not being able to get stickers off and everybody here tell me I can use a hairdryer. I know what I can do, I just choose not to. Starting with our bottom layer, as always, I have some black aquarium gravel because it's just what I have on hand. Ooh. Then of course you add your spooky mesh. Then you want to add in your horticultural charcoal. Of course I'm not going to rinse my charcoal because, again, we're living life on the edge here. This is me realizing that I probably should have been wearing my gloves because my hands are all covered in charcoal dust. And I have a lot of sphagnum moss right now, so I'm just gonna use that again because I kind of like it. You could definitely use dirt for this part too. You definitely don't have to use moss. As a side note, if you wad up your sphagnum moss in your hand and you can squeeze it really hard and it's still dripping, it's not dry enough. You need to wring it out some more. That'll do. Today's menu items include this maidenhair fern. I have 2 different varieties of string of baby's angel's tears. I'm not really sure which one I want to use quite yet. I'm gonna stick some variegated creeping fig up in the front. And I have some very sad giant string of baby tears that were in this pot from before, so I'm gonna put those in there too. And back again because I can't seem to stop myself from killing it. This is a very sad philodendron Birkin propagation I had from a long time ago that I'm gonna put in there too. And then there's this thing. How convenient that this little chunk just went flying off. Well, Sad. 30% of the dirt is actually stuck to this plant. Very sad. I'm gonna go in with my very sad giant string of baby's tears that are currently dying in this little nursery pot. I don't know how this little Birkin isn't dead yet, honestly. I'm also gonna go ahead and tuck this guy in there. Again, I have no idea what this is. I think it's some type of peperomia. If you know, please drop a comment and let me know what it is. Here are some freshly murdered pieces of variegated creeping fig. You want to make sure you have at least 3 leaves on each cutting just to make sure it has enough energy and room to photosynthesize and form roots. And here's how it looks. It's got a lot of variety happening. Hopefully some of the plants get a little taller, but until then. Okay, thanks for watching, bye! I can't really figure out why my husband likes this stuff, but we're gonna reuse the jar for a terrarium. A gooberarium. Here are the ingredients on today's menu. And we're gonna start with a base layer of horticultural charcoal in a Trix cup because there's 2 adults that live in this house and we eat like 2 adults that have a goober jar and a Trix cup laying around. It comes up when people see that my charcoal is dusty that I don't rinse my charcoal. Some people do, some people don't. I've never found it necessary. Go ahead and add in your moistened sphagnum moss, and then I'm just gonna spray it down right away to make sure I don't forget to do it later. This is one of my very favorite terrarium plants. It's an umbrella liverwort, and it had a ton of little garden snails in it. I'm not real sure what kind they are. I have a couple of guesses, but what do you think they are? I just can't get enough of them. They're so small and so cute. They just end up multiplying in my terrariums that I grow my other plants in, and I have a ton of them. Obviously, they're also out in the yard. This is how it's looking so far with the liverworts in it. Trying to ride along with our food theme. Here's a watermelon Pellionia. I'm probably saying that wrong, but it's fine. Don't forget your live moss. I went ahead and tucked it over the bottom of the Pellionia cutting so that it would hopefully root on there. With everything tucked in there snug as a bug, you can go ahead and close it up. I don't have a closed terrarium with just sphagnum moss and charcoal in it, so we'll see how it goes. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye! I hope you're ready for the fastest terrarium you've ever seen. It kind of looks like I'm just throwing the plants around at this speed, but whatever. So you need some rocks, some mesh, some charcoal, some more mesh, and then you can add your dirt. Now that it's reminiscent of a Dairy Queen cake from childhood, we can start adding plants. Today's menu items include some moss and string of turtles, and peperomia periscifolia, and some more, and then a liverwort, which is one of my favorites, and a teeny tiny clover, and some more moss, and then a little staghorn fern I propagated. Oh, and some giant string of baby tears and creeping fig. I'm also going to throw some Boston fern cuttings in there. I don't know if they'll root, but it's worth a shot. Hey, plant fam. So you want to build a terrarium, but you're not sure where to start. Let's talk about that. All of my terrariums have 4 basic components: drainage, charcoal, substrate, and mesh. In most cases, the 3 layers will come out to be right around 2 inches tall, with the actual substrate layer being the thickest. Really, in order, your components should be drainage, mesh, charcoal, mesh, then substrate. And the charcoal is supposed to help filter the water, but I found it really just helps keep odors out of there, keeps it from being stanky. Since it seemed to be a point of confusion in my other terrarium videos, the purpose of the mesh is to keep the layers separate in theory, but it's not perfect. Some of it's gonna get mixed. When I first started building terrariums, I would just get moss out of the yard. I also have some clovers in here I got out of the yard. Some people worried they would take over, but they've just kind of kept to themselves over on one side here. Other great options for plants would be any type of small cutting of peperomia. We've got string of baby tears, we've got a little fern, we've got some creeping fig, string of turtles, and my favorite is by far umbrella liverwort. That one is sort of hard to come by and sort of hard to see on camera, but it's right here. It's one of my favorites. I was lucky enough that I got it growing in a houseplant I bought a long time ago, and I've just been propagating it in terrariums ever since. I do have a previous video of the exact steps I went through to build this terrarium a little bit farther down my page. As far as a watering schedule goes, they're not super demanding. I just water it whenever the condensation stops forming on the sides of the jar. Usually it's like once a month or so. Just in case you don't want to go out and find all of those components yourself, I will be putting terrarium kits up on my Etsy shop for 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12-inch terrariums. You can find a link to that in my bio. Anyway, I hope that helps. Thanks for watching. Bye! This was my lovely Halloween terrarium, but it has since not been doing very well. So I took everything out of it. I'm not going to change out the soil because I have a cute little community of like soil snails and a couple of centipedes, and they're just vibing in there. I'm putting back the creeping fig just because it did really well in there the first time, even though I neglected it. Perfect. Going to keep my army of giant string of baby tears cuttings because they all did really well. I'm actually reshooting this video because the first time you could tell that I was dead inside, so I'm trying to hide that a little bit better this time. Let me know how it's going. And I'm probably not gonna put that in the final cut. I don't know. At this point, I'm just talking to myself. It's time to bust out the big tweezers. Dang it. I lost a cutting? How's that even possible? Although I do pretty much constantly lose my phone. Some people might ask me, Jessica, why are you so shaky? And I just shrug and I have to say, you know, it could be the coffee, could be cocaine. Never know. These are both Peperomia periscifolia, but it didn't do super well in the terrarium the first time, so I'm gonna plant them closer together and make sure they're getting more light. This is a dead snow bush. Mostly dead. I'm gonna see if it comes back to life in here with more light and humidity. It looks like garbage, but we'll see how it does. This is just some variegated creeping fig that I'm gonna put in there too. Okay, basically I went around my plant room and found small plants that were either not doing great or looking kind of sad, so I took them out of their pots and put them in this terrarium. Only high humidity loving plants though. To finish it up, I'm going to take some of this live terrarium moss. I bought it live. It's very brown. I mean, it was brown when I got it, actually this time. I've never tried it, but it's that kind that they sell in the reptile section. So we're gonna see how it goes. I can say with complete honesty that this is hands down the ugliest terrarium I've ever built. As in all terrarium closing statements, I'm going to completely spray it down and cover it up and set it somewhere it gets more light. Thanks for watching, bye! What's up, plant fam? Today I'm going to start a little series where I kind of respond to some comments on previous videos that I've been putting off doing. It is no secret that there are many people on Plant Talk that also love terrariums, so I'm going to answer a few really common questions that I get about them. This question is about the charcoal, but I'm going to start with the drainage layer because I feel like it's the most obvious. It's so the water can run through and kind of pool up at the bottom and maintain humidity between waterings and whatnot. I use charcoal for water filtration and also to help reduce odors. I've found that terrariums without charcoals tend to have kind of more of a musty, weird smell that I'm not a huge fan of. I used to think that charcoal helped reduce mold, but mold is actually a really cool part of the terrarium cycle and shouldn't be something that you completely avoid. Unless you have a little community of detritivores in your terrarium, mold will help break down that fallen plant matter and move those nutrients back into the cycle in the terrarium. And then of course, the top layer is the substrate. A lot of people use soil. I've kind of started using sphagnum moss. I really like it. It's got a cool look, and I don't know. I hope that it starts to regrow eventually, and then it'll be green moss with green plants and a whole lot of green. The seemingly most confusing piece of a terrarium that I incorporate is mesh. I like to put mesh layers between my drainage and charcoal, and then between my charcoal and substrate. You can 100% build a terrarium without layers of mesh. I just like to do it, and mostly I kept doing it because so many people questioned it. So that's kind of my little explanation of the pieces of terrariums. If you have a question, feel free to drop it below about plants, terrariums, and the like, and I will answer them as I see them. Anyway, thanks for watching, bye!